When planning out your website, there are some considerations to think about. The first one is, what is the story of your website? Websites, much like design, usually have a program with associated goals and objectives that drive its design. Examples of such goals might be to inform, persuade, or do something else. The purpose of our example website will be to inform. There are also technical requirements. Similar to design, websites have technical requirements. For example, users usually will not wait a long time for something to load up. They will either think their browser has stopped responding, and they'll close out, of course, or your website is not working, or they will simply not have the patience to wait. We also want to make sure our website is viewable across different browsers. We'll focus on Internet Explorer and Google Chrome. We also want to take under consideration how each search engine will find this website. User expectations. Users who visit our site will also have expectations. They will expect the following from your website. Content is viewable and accessible. Navigation is easy to use. Content is appropriate. Site generally fits on the screen. And usually some screens kind of work at 1024 by 768. Some screens are much bigger. There's also other devices such as mobile devices and tablets. And we'll try to take a look at some of those. But we won't spend too much time on those. But I'll definitely let you know what you need to do in order to get it to work on these different types of devices. Able to differentiate between links and regular text. Text is legible and doesn't blend in with the background. Simplicity versus noise. And of course, people expect an aesthetically pleasing website. And like I said before, some website designers will first create their website in Adobe Photoshop and then export the images into Dreamweaver. So it totally depends on what application you feel the most comfortable in. If Photoshop is your application that you feel the most comfortable in, you can definitely do it that way. If you prefer to do it on hand, on trace, you can definitely do it that way as well. In our example website, this is what we're going to kind of do. So this is kind of like a little mock website we're going to do here, just to kind of learn how to do this. We're going to have a folder named Dreamweaver, and inside that Dreamweaver folder we're going to create our index.html. And this index.html, that's going to be kind of like our home page, and we're also going to use this as kind of like our template. So basically we're going to take this index.html page, build it out the way that we want it, link it up, get everything, pretty much format it out, use it as a template, and then do a file to save as, and then save one as an about.html, a resume.html, a portfolio.html, design studio, design implementation, resume. And that way we don't have to go through each and every single one of these pages and create those from scratch. We can just use this index.html as a template. And then over here we're going to create some folders in here. We're going to have an about folder, a resume folder, a portfolio folder, and a contact folder. And we'll just say, for example, maybe we're making this website for our client, but in this case we're kind of making this for ourselves. So let's just say the about folder will contain information about our design philosophy, anything basically about ourselves. Maybe the second one will contain information that's related to resume content. The third one is portfolio, and the last one is contact. We'll also have some other additional folders in our directory, which I'm not showing here, such as an image bin and a video bin, and that way we don't have things scattered all over the place with our index file here. And then inside our about, we'll also kind of do the same thing. We'll have an about.html in there, which will also contain a image bin and a video bin that we can kind of contain our images and videos, so it makes it a little bit more visually manageable for us. Inside of our portfolio folder, we may also want to have a couple of subfolders. And of course, as you make yours, you may decide that you need more than just 2 subfolders. So in this example, we're going to have some design studio work so we can show off our design skills, and we're going to have some design implementation work that shows that we can basically grade and create CDs. After we're done with the planning phase of our website, one thing that we do need to do, since we kind of know now what we're going to do, is set up our file management. So I'm in my projects directory again. So I'm using my D drive, I have a projects directory, I've got my project template. I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to do a copy, and I'm going to right click somewhere out here and hit paste. And we see underscore project template dash copy only. I'm just going to right click on that, do a rename, and I'm going to call this website. And this is where my website's actually going to go. And it says I already have one named website, because I kind of did this ahead of time. But on yours, you shouldn't get this little pop-up. After I rename that directory and kind of scroll to where it's at inside my projects folder, I should see one that's called a folder here called website, since I just renamed that website. If I open that, I have several folders inside of here. I'm looking for Adobe and I'm looking for Dreamweaver, and this is where we're basically going to create our website. So I can go ahead and just start setting up some of those file and folder structures that we kind of already decided on in our planning phase. In our planning phase, we said that we were going to use this Dreamweaver folder. We were going to have, looks like 1, 2, 3 folders inside of here. So I'm just hit this new folder button 4 times. So we have 4 new folders. This first one is going to be named About. I'm going to be very careful about case sensitivity and all those things like passwords. Resume. This third one is going to be called Portfolio. And then this last one here is going to get named Contact. Now, if you're very particular about how Windows kind of organizes your folders, you can put little numbers in the front. Some people like to do that. So maybe you want to add a 01. And that way that one will always show up at the top of the list. Then here you can do 02 underscore resume. And maybe your portfolio becomes 03. This is more personal preference, of course, it's not required. It does make that web address a little bit longer. Sometimes it may not matter. And again, like I said, this is more personal preference. And then I did mention earlier that we were going to have a couple other folders in here to kind of contain our videos and our images, so we don't have a bunch of things going on in here. So I'm going to do a couple more new folders in here. And this first one is going to be called the image bin. And this is where we're going to basically keep all of the images that's related to the home page. And the second one is going to become my video bin. Now, it may be that I don't use the image bin or the video bin at all because I don't have enough web server space. But, you know, at least I have these folders here in the event that I may decide to use them. So right now I have 6 folders in here. This will have all of my other web pages in there. And then over here where it says portfolio, we also decided that we were going to have some additional stuff going on in there. We're going to have Design Studio and Design Implementation. So I'm going to go inside of my portfolio. I'm going to hit New Folder. I'm going to call this Design Studio. I try to avoid spaces and file names on websites, because if you have a space in there, what your browser will do is put a little modulus symbol in there. And when I'm trying to share the link with someone, I don't always remember to type in modulus. And then I share it with the space in there, and then when the end user tries to go there, they get a page cannot be found. So I try to avoid spaces. This one's going to be called Design Implementation. And then inside each of these, I want there to be an image and video bin as well. And you're probably wondering why that is. Well, if I didn't have an image and video bin, all of the images for all of these sites would just basically be on this single area here or inside one of these folders. And let's just say you have to make a change. You know, something isn't quite right. And you can't find the image because you could have hundreds of images in here. And being in the design field, you know, you're going to have images on your site. That's just the way that it is. So this is just a way to kind of manage where your images are and which website they're related to, or which folder or basically web page that those images are associated with. So this, you know, this directory is already set up to structure this image bin and video. I'm just going to right click here and hit copy and put an image and video bin in here because I know that might have some images and videos related to my about page. Same thing with my resume, and definitely in my portfolio for each of these. And you may have additional folders in here for maybe each design studio or something. You know, this is totally up to how you decide you're going to plan this out. And maybe I need one at this level too, because it may have basically a portfolio page which points to these two pages. And maybe that portfolio.html page is that kind of like a transition, like an introduction, which leads people to the design implementation and design studio pages. And then my contact. And maybe I won't have any images or videos in my contact, but I have the directory set up in the event that I may decide to add something like that in there. So on the left side over here, I'm just going to expand out projects, expand all of this out, just so we can see what this looks like. Expand out Adobe, go inside Dreamweaver. I'm going to make this just a little bit wider. I'm just going to expand all of this out just so that we can see what we have so far. There's my contacts. Let me scroll this up just a little bit so we can see that what we have here on the right side, we have this Dreamweaver folder which matches up with this over here. We don't have an index yet because we need to get into Dreamweaver and actually create some pages. We have About, Resume, Portfolio, and Contact. We have About, Resume, Portfolio, and Contact. And inside of our portfolio we have Design Studio and Design Implementation. So we go to Portfolio. We have Design Implementation, Design Studio. It's kind of reversed, but like I said, you can add numbers in the front if you want it to keep the order. I'm probably not going to do that at this level. This is totally optional if you want to do this. And then we also mentioned that we were going to add additional folders in here, such as Image Bin, Video Bin for each one, as a means of kind of containing, kind of keeping under control the image and video mess that we may potentially have in the future. Alright, so now what we need to do is create this index.html, this about.html, resume.html, portfolio, design studio, design implementation, and resume.html pages. And like I said, we're going to start with this index.html first. Use that as our template, create copies in each of these directories, and name them as this. We've got all of this planned out, and we know exactly what we need to do now.